Welcome to Life and DNA with Amanda Renee. I'm so glad you joined me today. Let's get started. Today, I'm going to take kind of a different path than I normally do and talk about narcissism. Haven't talked about that in a while. I want to kind of talk about narcissism. I've seen it a lot on TV recently, and I'll give you kind of a background story in a second of how I can pick up on it so well. um, Unfortunately, I have a personal story with that, and so yeah. But particularly if you watch Vanderpump Rules, um, Summer House, those are the two I'll probably talk about in detail today. But yes, narcissism, especially with social media, is kind of rampant everywhere. I did not know until a few years ago even what a narcissist was. And then my sisters and I discovered that our mother is, in fact, a narcissist. And not just any narcissist, she is a covert, malignant narcissist. What's another way of putting it? Passive aggressive narcissist. We found that out, and so I was in my early 40s finding this out about our mother. It raised a lot of questions about my childhood. Sent me down kind of a bad spiral there for a while. Um, it made me question who I was as a person because I was the, if you know anything about narcissism, especially malignant covert narcissists, you know, the brash, um, outspoken narcissists, they're easy to spot. They like to brag about themselves and put others down, and they're very outspoken. But that is not the kind of narcissist my mother was, which is why there are only a few of us that even recognize that that's what she is. And it took so long for us to see that that's what she is, because they're sneakier about it. They still very much talk about themselves, and they will put you down, but they wrap it in either a sweet voice or it's a backhanded compliment. It's not out and out telling you you're horrible. It's in a roundabout backstabbing way, and you don't even know what hit you until you leave later and replay the conversation in your head, and then you're like, oh, that wasn't very nice. So yeah, I have. So now that I know what my mom is, and have come to terms with it as best I can, it is much easier for me to spot. Um, I have three sisters, and we all kind of approach how we've handled this a little differently. Um, I have a. My sisters probably think it's a harder stance and approach when it comes to our mother than the rest of them, which, given the type of person that I am, probably surprises them a little bit. I think they're kind of taken aback by it because I am very forgiving, I'm very loving, and but that is the reason I think I'm having a harder time with it, and I have a harder line drawn in the sand with her because I was the one that she used for so long, for 40 something years. I was the one she used for her emotional I mean, they suck you dry emotionally because they need to feed off of you. As weird as that sounds, they do. They need validation, so they will get it from you however they can. If you're not gonna give it to them willingly, then they will put you down, make you feel worse about yourself. And so I've been on an emotional roller coaster my entire life with my mom that way, and until I realized what she was doing, I would fall for it. And my sisters, some of them were more like the scapegoats, the ones that she would kind of lash out at or things like that, but they weren't used the way I was. And so I don't appreciate being used. I don't. And it made me very angry at first. Now I'm just where I'm like, I'm still angry to a point because I keep finding out other things that either she's done in the past or she's continuing to do to hurt people that I love, and it just pisses me off. But so I refuse. If I find out someone is using, like, I refuse to be used again. I am not going back there. So I'm so mad about it that I'm like, I'm not doing it ever again. Not happening. And I can be forgiving when I need to be, and I can be loving, but I will never put myself in a position for her to use me or drain me in the way that she did ever again. But all of that to say that now it is so much easier for me to spot it in other people. And if you have been, if you've been following Vanderpump Rules and Summer House, then you probably know who I'm talking about. If you followed the Scandival last year at all, Tom Sandoval is classic covert narcissist. I mean, he is. I can find parallels between him and my mom. It's crazy. But it's so scary. Like, it's creepy to watch. He makes my skin crawl watching it now. Which is probably what it would be like if I ever went back and watched home movies with my mother in them. Like, it's just creepy. And I can see if I had watched all of that play out before I knew, before all that happened with my mom, and before I knew what a covert narcissist was and how they operate, I would have been as confused as some of the people are. I've heard some people comment. I listened to a podcast, Popping Off with Teddy Mellencamp, and I had her name a second ago. Emily Simpson. And they talk about the show, and they keep going back and forth on, well, sometimes they think that Tom Sandoval is crying and being sincere, and they feel bad for him. And you see, Lisa Vanderpump in the show fall for his tears and feel bad for him. And then you have his flying monkeys. I mean, Tom Schwartz is classic flying monkey for him. Even Ariana in the past she got her eyes open just like I did, real fast and furious, and I feel bad for her because she is on the same emotional roller coaster that I was a few years ago. And she's just getting to bank off of it a lot. I didn't get to bank off of mine, but she is getting to, which is awesome. But she was a flying monkey for him a while. The flying monkeys are typically the people that will make excuses for the narcissist. They think the narcissist is sincere, and they believe, all of their lies. And so, yeah, those are two of them. Rachel, Raquel, whatever you want to call her, would have been one last year. She fell victim to him, and it's sad. It's crazy because, and Sheena also, because Sheena keeps being very confused. Well, he shows up for me, and he does all these nice things for me, and he's given me money when I needed to, and that's what they do. But it always has a motive. You might not see it, you might not know it until something like this happens, and then you can start to see it. The reason he does all of those things is so that no one will believe he's the bad guy when he gets found out. If you watched season 10 last year, you can see they filmed before anyone knew what was going on. Of course, he knew what was going on. He knew he was cheating on Ariana. But did you notice, looking back, because we all watched it knowing what happened, which helped kind of expose him a little better, because that news broke before all of the season aired. But if you go back and watch that, he was planting, knowing he was cheating on Ariana, but he was planting little seeds the whole season, like, oh, their relationship wasn't good. Oh, Ariana's not doing this for me anymore. Ariana's having so many emotional problems. He would plant little seeds about her, like, oh, that their relationship wasn't working out, knowing the whole time that he was telling Ariana one thing and cheating on her behind her back, which is blatantly, and then trying to get the audience to see, well, because in his mind, he was probably going to confess and break up with her after the season aired or whatever. And he didn't get that chance. But he was dropping little crumbs the whole time, setting a narrative to make him look like the victim in the end. He didn't want it to come out that he had cheated on her. He was probably just going to eventually break up with her and then move on with Rachel Raquel and not let her tell what happened. He could probably count on Schwartz not telling what was going on, because, again, they're the flying monkeys and they fall for his little act. But because he got caught, we all get to see what he was actually doing. And if you watched the finale of this season, and you hear him at the very end when Schwartz is saying, oh, wow, I didn't, that was crazy that it ended like that. And Tom Sandoval was like, well, it worked out good for me because that's what he wanted. As soon as Ariana wouldn't talk to him, which is what he knew would happen, he never apologized to her. Remember, she always said, he's never said anything to me off camera. He only did that because the cameras were rolling and he wanted to look like the good guy, like he was trying, and then she wouldn't, so then he's the victim, which is what narcissists always play, the victim card. And as soon as she walked out and couldn't hear what he was saying and defend herself, he immediately turns on her and is putting her down, saying, well, she doesn't even like any of you. She said all these horrible things about you. And what's probably happened is when they were together and intimate, in a good place, they probably talked like couples do. And he probably said the bad things, but got her to agree with him. So then he could, in his mind, flip it and turn it and say that, well, she never liked any of you anyway. Because that's what they do. They pit everybody against everybody. My mom, growing up, made me think that my dad did not like me. And, like, maybe that he loved me, but I was always under the assumption that my dad didn't like me. And it wasn't ever anything that my dad really did. But she would point things out and be like, oh, well, see, that means he didn't like you. I mean, maybe not in those words, but that is the message I got from her loud and clear, that my dad didn't like me. It wasn't until I'm an adult looking back that I see what she did. As a kid, you just trust what your mom says. Also, as an adult, she would try to pit me and my sisters against each other. And the way we actually found out what she was doing was because we started talking to each other. Before we really didn't, we all talked to her. And then she would just tell us what was going on with the other siblings. And we trusted what she said. It wasn't until we started talking to each other and realizing that she was lying to each of us about different things that we finally realized what was going on. And the same thing with Tom Sandoval. What he would say behind the scenes or drop little things in front of the camera strategically so that you would think he was the good guy, he was the victim, and really he was playing everything behind the scenes. Also with in Summer House with Lindsay and Carl. I haven't quite figured out Carl 100% yet. I don't think he's narcissistic, but Lindsay definitely is. Like, she's definitely a narcissist. I've watched Summer House and then the after show on Peacock where they talk about the episodes, and if you watch her and Gabby are on there together, and she will hardly ever let Gabby get a word in edgewise. She just takes over the conversation, and that is something that narcissists typically do. They and if you disagree with them, they will either get mad at you until you don't know what's going on and agree with them, or act like you're stupid or act like you're lying and twist things to so that you see things their way. And they're not going to stop until you do see things their way. And Lindsay is very much that. She keeps making statements about, well, Carl wanted the cameras rolling on certain things. I don't think that is... People keep trying to take that, and she keeps trying to spin it as, well, he just wanted things on camera because he just wanted to do it for show. No, I think he wanted to do it so that he had evidence, like video and audio evidence of what he was trying to say to her and her reaction. That, and two, she might not quite react as bad if the camera's rolling. Because I remember in one episode he's talking to Kyle, and Carl says that, if I told my parents even half of what was really going on behind closed doors, they would never have wanted me to marry Lindsay. And I believe that because we've seen her behavior in the past. And if she's trying to kind of get everyone to think she's just this wonderful person and why would he not want to marry me, she's going to play to that. I believe that Carl is afraid of her reactions, because he's very much like, he apologizes ahead of things. Like, he's not even in the wrong, and he just, like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, that I said that or did that, but I felt this way. He's getting ahead of it. And trust me, that's how I would handle my mom. You just apologize. You don't even know what you're apologizing for. You just know they're upset with you. You must have done something wrong to upset them. And so you apologize because you're the type of person that you need everything to be okay. But nothing's ever going to be okay with them because they're narcissists and they're never happy. And so no matter what Carl did, Lindsay was never going to be happy. And no matter what she says. Um, he, and that's why he stayed confused. You stay confused, and that's where they get power over you. And, yeah, so I'm curious to see how that all plays out. I don't think anyone's gonna come out and just say that she's a narcissist because they're all a little bit afraid of her. She is more of the outspoken type of narcissist, I believe. Um, and yeah, but I'm so glad that Carl dodged a bullet there and did not marry her because she's crazy. And yeah, but I feel bad because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, now I see what Carl was doing, and I feel bad for Lindsay." No, you don't see the way she. Remember at the beginning of the season, the car rides from the bar. None of those were recorded, so all you hear about it is them discussing it. You didn't actually hear the fights, and she was accusing him of drinking again or taking drugs again, and he's been sober for a while now, and she was trying to put doubts there. That's horrible. I mean, especially for a fiance to do. And it was just little things like that, and he's trying so hard to make sense of everything and do better and get the relationship to work, and she's just not. And then the whole thing about his job and going back to work for a lover boy, and him saying he just needs her to be soft and to be in his corner and be happy for him, and all she does is question. She's not giving what he wants, and she's refusing to give him what he wants. But when the tables are turned, if he doesn't give her what she wants, she flips out on him. And so he's trying to stand up for himself and just say, I need this. And she refuses because that's how narcissists work. They have to have the power. They're not going to give you what you want, but you dang sure better give them what they want, or they're going to make your life miserable. So yeah, I've been watching those shows. I just really wanted to talk about that because I don't really hear anybody, like on the podcasts and the different things I watch, I don't hear anybody just out and out calling them what they are, which is narcissists. And it's made me feel bad because a lot of people keep judging Ariana for not wanting to interact with Tom Sandoval on camera. But I am 100% behind her in that, because you have to cut communication off. At least, I mean, in my case with my mother, I don't completely cut it off, but she has to initiate. I don't initiate with her. And if she does, I respond. But like Ariana said in one confessional, you have to gray rock with them. You're just a gray, boring rock. You can't give them any emotion whatsoever, because if you do, negative or positive, they feed off of it, and they're going to want more, and they're going to try and suck you back in, even if it's negative. So you have to be a boring gray rock with them. You cannot give them anything. And the cast keeps, especially like Lala, keeps trying to get her to engage with him. She can't. The rest of you can. She can't, because she knows what he is now. And if she does anything, shows any kind of emotion, then he thinks he's won. He thinks he's got her where he wants her, and he's going to try and move back with that. He's going to either rile her up and get her to look, like out of control, like the episode at James and Allie's house where she was calling him a dog murderer, or attempted dog murderer. When she got he was probably thrilled with that because he got emotion out of her. And so yeah, they all need to understand, for her own mental well-being, she cannot interact with him. Like, it's not going to happen at that point, because this was just a few months after it happened, or a month or 2 or 3 months after it happened. She was going to be too emotional for that. I'll give her a few years, let her process it, and she can probably film with him, but still give him nothing. Because if she does, he's going to have a foothold right back in there. And that's not going to be good for her. Might be good for television, but it isn't good for her as a person. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's just been on my heart and my mind. I wanted to talk about it because I've had to live it the past few years, and it's really hard, especially with somebody that you can't just permanently cut out of your life. I have kids. That's their grandmother. I'm not going to completely, cut her out for their sake. But, yeah. So, definitely, if you have not, I hope and pray that you have not had to actually deal with being a victim of narcissism in your life. But if you haven't, look for those. Pay attention. Look for those things. Don't be sucked in by them. I was raised with one, so I didn't really have much choice. But now I can spot them. And hopefully, God willing, I will not ever be sucked in by one again. Because it's not fun to be used at all. But yeah, that's all I had for today. And I will be back on here again next week. I will probably be giving an update on my semaglutide, or semaglutide, however you want to pronounce it, on that journey. I go in for my 3rd shot tomorrow. So far I've lost 5 pounds as of last Thursday. I lost 5 pounds, so I'm curious to see what my weigh-in is tomorrow. But yeah, I'll probably give an update on that next week and tell you how my journey's been. But I will see you next time. Thank you for joining me today on Life and DNA with Amanda Renee. Come back next week and I'll have a new episode for you. Talk to you later. Bye.